What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another reading. It is Friday. We have made it. Friday reading. Here's the vibes. Definitely a little bit of tumultuous energy, just kind of going through the week. Not abnormal, but it's good to make it through to the end. We're just going to do kind of our basic 3-card reading. I really kind of mixed it up for Wednesday's reading, so I like to try to be somewhat consistent. I like to try to do 2 out of the 3 regularly, just like our normal readings, but then I like to mix it up for one because I think it's better for my skills to develop, and sometimes I'm also just getting called to like try new things and just like experiment a little bit, so I never really want to say no to that as long as it's not too extreme, because I think sometimes we can get a better understanding of the energies going on if we're not afraid to just like mix up the mediums and the ways in which we interpret the tarot and just kind of like draw the cards. So yeah, first card, let's go. Alright, so we have the King of Cups. Look at him there on his little throne. Alright, so I'm really noticing kind of an aquatic energy, and something maybe I never really noticed too much before is just how much this guy, he really kind of looks like a fish. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever really looked at him. I want you to look at 2 things when you look at this card, and that'll kind of be the basis for what we're going off of with just kind of this interpretation. But I want you to notice how fish-like his face looks, and I want you to notice how his throne is shaped like the tail of a fish. See that? Isn't that wild? He looks like a fish, and his throne looks like a fish. And that makes sense, because he is the cups, he is water, he is aquatic, he is fish-like. But what are we getting from this? So this is kind of the, so it's the Friday reading, it's kind of the end of the week energy, but it's the first card in that, so it's kind of the energy moving into the end of the week, so maybe that like late Wednesday, Thursday, early Friday kind of energy, just that like moving into the end of the week, depending on when your like work week is, or just kind of like what your, maybe your like concept is not revolving around your work, but like maybe your like extracurriculars, or maybe you have like a child who has a very specific schedule, or you have doctor's appointments on specific days, or I don't know, you have volleyball practice on Wednesday and you always see that as kind of like the start of your new week. It really just kind of depends, but this is just kind of the end of the week, which I'm normally constituting as like the Friday kind of energy. So as we're moving into this, you definitely see this, alright, so as we're moving into this end of the week, I'm really getting called to just kind of like see the energies from this card as being to move forward with this kind of aquatic like current, pushing, always changing, always flowing, always going forward. Like I had mentioned before, it could be a little bit like rocky more towards the beginning of the week and like into the middle. So we're getting called to just kind of like move past it. And that's never to say to just kind of like forgive and forget, move on, don't try to learn anything. But I think the energy for right now really has to do with just like moving on, coming back to it later, like not thinking about it too much, maybe not making any rash decisions, maybe something happened and your like gut instinct is to be like, I have to leave right now, I have to quit my job right now, I have to break up with this person right now. Take a deep breath. Move past it for right now. This might be, you may just not be like in a great headspace to be making these kind of decisions right now. It's something you might want to think about later. If you're 100% sure, like, yeah, go for it. But, like, if there's even a little bit of doubt in your brain about, like, how this could go, feel free to just kind of, like, circle back to it later. I keep hearing the phrase, like, let's keep, or what is it? Just keep swimming, from Finding Nemo, Dory, Ellen DeGeneres, that whole thing. An iconic movie phrase. You've probably heard it a million times, but that's definitely the energy. I really wanted to focus on like the fish imagery on this because that's kind of what's calling, like that's what's giving me the message. Yes, it has to do with like emotion and like your emotional intelligence, but that could also be kind of like the shadow side of this card, like maybe you're not regulating your emotions well, and this is a call to like move forward and come back to it later when you can be this kind of more evolved emotional being, and like you're just maybe not quite sure how you feel yet, and that's totally fine. You don't like, you're allowed to take your time to figure out how you feel about something. So move forward. Don't focus on it right now. Give yourself time to kind of process, like, in the background. Like, you don't have to just sit down and be like, I'm gonna think about this, but like, take your time. Like, really let your body and your brain just kind of like physiologically process what's happening to you. Sleep on it. That's always a great thing. Maybe sleep on it a couple times. Like, take a few nights. Like, come back later, because this just doesn't seem like the energy for you to be making these kind of like weird life-changing decisions or anything. So like, I don't know, that's the energy we're going in, and it's the end of the week, so feel free to like take the weekend. We're leaving this week behind. If you can learn something from it, great, but if not, just like slice and dice, push away. Like, that's what we're being called to do. You don't have to dwell on everything. Not everything is some like grand lesson. Sometimes it's just like, it happened, we're moving on. And maybe some people don't want you to move on, and maybe some people are trying to like drag up the past and drag you back into it. But it's kind of your decision whether or not you want to be dragged back into that. If you're going to engage with that kind of behavior, and I am definitely getting the energy that's not really necessary in this case. Like, just cut, crop it out, move forward. That being said, this is our second card, our present, like where the energy is headed, maybe some of the things we're going to run into going into kind of the end of the week, and that is this perfect Hanged Man. There he is. So the Hangman, I mean, we're definitely in that like static energy, but it's hard to say. I don't know. It's interesting, because there's definitely this like conflicting energy, because on the one hand you have this flowing, you have this going forward, moving past it, but on the other hand you have this like stagnation of the actual thing that is happening that you're like looking past. You're not making a decision, and those are two different things, because this card, the King of Cups, can be representative of you and your energy, while this can be representative of your circumstances, or like the people in your life who you are taking that like little break on. So these are representing two different things with conflicting energies, and that's why you need to be the one to move on, because they are not going to move on, and the circumstances are not going to move on until you address them, like, and they may not even be ready to move on. Like, you are this, and like this is what you're up against, and these two cards are like, they're not going well together. So I'm asking you to kind of like circle around until like this kind of becomes a little less stagnant and a little more ready to change, because if you try to adjust this energy to fit the needs of this, you are just going to come up in conflict, and that is not what you want. We are trying to avoid the conflict of that. So yeah, take the weekend. You deserve it. Like, you've had a hard week. Even if you haven't had a hard week, like, life is hard. You know, like, even if you had a good week and you're like, oh, I was supposed to be applying for new jobs and I didn't, and I just like sat on my butt, and you feel guilty about it, like, whatever, you know? Like, life is hard. Just like, I don't know. You deserve to like be happy and take breaks, and like, if you didn't accomplish literally anything this weekend, like, give yourself a break for it, you know? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, beat yourself up about it? Like, that is not the vibe. That is not what we're going for. That's not what we need this week. Take another break. Take the weekend too. You didn't mean to take the week off, and you did take the week off. Take the weekend off too if you can. Like, for what, you know? We are not in the business of bullying you into productivity for productivity's sake. You do not need to earn like this like moral praise. Like, you're just like a living person. Like, you deserve respect regardless if you sat on your butt on the couch all week, like, just trying to treat yourself. Like, I don't know. Sorry, that's a message for a very specific person. If it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine. We'll go back to like the main message of the cards. Alright, our final card for this reading and also the week. It's always kind of fun to go on little tangents like that, like when they come up. You know, sometimes you just get called to share a message. Like, if you liked the little tangent and it resonated with you, it's for you. Let me know down in the comments. But yeah. Alright, last message. Ooh, rounding it out. Queen of Cups. Alright, we have the two cups royalty kind of duking it out. You can't see it in the spread. I guess I can show you facing. They're both looking at the Hanged Man. like in the way. Obviously, it's this way for me. They're both looking at the... Isn't that interesting? The thing I like about the tarot is when you put them out specifically in spreads, sometimes you can glean a bit of meaning based on, like, the greater portrait it's happening. So, like, if you have two cards in this instance that are facing one card, in this case the Hanged Man in the center, whereas if they were both looking away, or one was looking away and one was looking forward, that can really tell you a greater picture about, like, the clarity of the detail. It's giving this, like, clarifying energy, and that's why a lot of people enjoy spreads, aside from just like, oh, the card in this spot means this, and like that kind of clarity. It can also create like a broader picture, almost like a new card, where these images are coming together. So the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups are both looking directly at this Hanged Man, and the Hanged Man is representing the circumstances of stagnation surrounding you, whereas I'm getting the energy that you are more representative of this like cup royalty and being the master of your emotions and taking this time. I think this is really just kind of doubling back. I don't like to see a lot of the tarot as this very like gender binary. The king represents the masculine of the emotions, and the queen represents the feminine of emotion. Like, I think they both are, like, doing their emotional labor in their own right, and, like, people as a whole, that looks generally the same across, like, gender spectrums. So I think that's kind of like, oh, men do their emotional work like this, and women do it like this. Like, I don't know that there's anything inherent in that. You can, like, maybe you can look through, like, various societies and how they would do it, but I don't think that's, like, inherent to, like, the spiritual human condition. So I'm really getting this kind of, like, mirror of, like, the mirror is the Hanged Man, and then you and the reflection are, like, the emotional labor that you need to be doing. Which, again, is kind of... I'm getting this imagery of, like, revolving around it without, like, directly engaging with the stagnation. Like, again, we're going back to this, like, circle back, like, circle around it. You can revolve around it. You can kind of dance around it without having to directly engage with it and, like, move it. Because you're not going to move the hangman. You can't force that. It is stagnation. You're not going to beat it at its own game. Sure, like... you can press and press and press and prove like, I'm the one, I can like budget an inch here and there, and then you're both just going to be like miserable, and that's something, like you've accomplished something. But wouldn't you rather just be like sitting back on your little, again, we have a very like, we have that kind of like rounded, like less harsh, I'm getting this like aquatic, there's like these, there's little like mermaid cherubs on the back. It's this very like flowy, not in a rush, you know? Like, she's not in a rush to get this done. The emotional labor is the end goal for both the king and the queen. So forcing yourself through this stagnation really is just not going to do anything. Put a little distance on it. Like, I'm getting, like... I'm sorry, this is becoming a very unserious tarot reading, but I'm just, like... I don't know, like... they're keeping an eye on it, like you know what's going on. They're both like watching it. They're both staring at these circumstances and just kind of like waiting for it to change. They're both sitting back. They're both kind of chilling. They're in their thrones. Like, they're not like, they know it's there. They can see it. They're staring directly at the circumstances. But that doesn't mean that they're gonna like get up out of their thrones and start like beating against it, because it's just not gonna help anything, you know? So like, again, I'm really getting this call, like, take the weekend off if you can. Like, please, like, if you've been working overtime, this is not the weekend to be like, I'm gonna put in all the extra shifts. Like, you need to breathe if you need it. Like, you'll know. Like, if you're like, I had a pretty relaxed week, and then, like, that's fine. Do whatever you want. Like, I'm never gonna tell you what you have to do, but I'm telling you that if you are in a situation where you have the option, and, like, I mean it, like, people like to say, like, I can't do this, like, I can't, like, humans don't like to be flexible in what they, like, their perceptions of things. But if it's possible, and I really mean this, take the weekend to relax, because you need it. Your emotional sanity depends on this. Both of the Cups royalty are in this reading, and they are both staring at the Hanged Man, which is not going to go anywhere. Like, it's going to be there on Monday. we like to tell ourselves like, oh, like the circumstances out there, I have to deal with this right now. But it's like, chill, because it will be there on Monday. You can mess with it then. You can circle back, having slept on it a few nights, get that full rest, and you will be fine. Do deep breaths. This is another very chaotic reading, but like it's good. Like I'd rather get the message out there. But yeah, so like that's the reading. That's Friday's reading. Take care of yourself, take care of the weekend, take it off. Your emotional sanity is dependent on you being able to set down these very static circumstances and coming back to them later. It'll be fine. Deep breaths. Let me know down in the comments if this resonated with you. I'll see you guys Monday. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this reading, if it resonated or anything you like learned or took specifically from it. I'd love to hear back from you guys. That's it. Hope you have a good one. Hope you have a nice, restful weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.